Hello students. On last session we discussed about the colligative properties. On colligative properties we stopped at osmotic pressure. About osmotic pressure we discussed some of the thing also. Again from osmotic pressure definition we are beginning this one. Look at what is osmotic pressure. The pressure required to stop the flow of solid molecules into solution through semi-permeable membrane is known as osmotic pressure. About this thing we already discussed in last session. Now we are going to discussing the new thing about this osmotic pressure. So when discussing with osmotic pressure, we have to go through this Van Hoff's theory. According to Van Hoff, dilute solutions having non-volatile solutes behaves as gases. The particles which are present in dilute solutions of non-volatile solutes behaves as gases. Hence, all gas laws are also applicable to dilute solutions. According to Boyle's law, according to Boyle's law, pressure is inversely proportional to volume. Here we are substituting this pressure with osmotic pressure. This osmotic pressure is denoted by phi. So instead of P, now I am writing osmotic pressure phi. Phi is inversely proportional to pi. 1 by V can be written as concentration. So phi is directly proportional to concentration. According to Chandler's law, phi is directly proportional to absolute temperature. From these two equations, phi is directly proportional to Cp. By removing this proportionality, we can substitute an proportionality constant, and that proportionality constant is S. And S is solution constant. The value of S is nearly equal to the value of gas constant. Hence, instead of S, we can take this R. So R equal to, pi equal to R n by V into T. This n by V is the concentration. So C can be written as n by V. C can be written as n by V. So pi is equal to n r. N can also be written like this, weight by gram molecular weight. So pi is equal to weight by gram molecular weight RT by V. This is about the mathematical forms of osmotic pressure. Now look at the other formulas of this osmotic pressure. Case 1. Consider two solutions of same solute. Consider two solutions of same solute. In this container, one solution is there. In this one, another solution is there. Osmotic pressure of this solution is phi1. Osmotic pressure of second solution is phi2. Volume of first solution is V1. Volume of second solution is V2. When these two solutions are combined, when these two solutions are mixed, the resultant osmotic pressure, can be calculated by using this formula. I1 V1 plus I2 V2 by V1 plus resultant osmotic pressure is equal to I1 V1 plus I2 V2 by V1 plus V2. So this is the formula we can use when two solutions having same solute are mixed. Suppose two solutions have, suppose I am considering two solutions. Consider two solutions of different solutes. Consider two solutions of different solutes. In such cases, how this formula is applicable? Consider a first solution. Solution 1 and solution first solution number of moles is taken as N1. Its van Hoff factor is taken as I1. Second solution number of moles are taken as N2. Its van Hoff factor is taken as I2. Its volume is V1. Its volume is V2. Now these two solutions are mixed. Then resultant osmotic pressure is equal to N total I total ST by V1 plus N total I total ST by V1 plus V2. This is the resultant osmotic pressure. When two solutions of different solutes are considered. So what is this van Hoff factor? We will discuss about this thing on further session. Next we are discussing about abnormal molar masses. So what is this abnormal molar masses? Let's take the example of acetic acid. What is the molecular weight of acetic acid? What is the calculated molecular weight of acetic acid? It is 60. Find out the molecular weight of acetic acid by using conjugative properties experiment. When acetic acid molecular weight is identified by using conjugative property experiment, it appears as 120. It comes as 120. So why this much of difference is appearing? Why it become double? That means calculated molecular mass is not equal to experimental molecular mass. So why all these things are appearing? Now look at it. Conjugative properties are conjugated properties are inversely proportional to gram molar mass. Conjugated properties are directly proportional to number of particles, and these are inversely proportional to gram molecular weight. As number of particles increases, gram molecular weight decreases. The same thing appears here also. The calculated molecular weight of this one is acetic acid is 60. But when this one, when acetic acid is placed in benzene solvent, it undergoes a diarization. That means number of particles decreases. When diarization takes place, what happens? Number of particles decreases. Suppose that diarization happens like this. Suppose you take 100 molecules of acetic acid. Take 100 molecules of acetic acid, and this one is placed in benzene. You get only 50 molecules. These 100 molecules undergoes diarization and appears as 50 molecules. So what happens? Number of particles decreasing. When number of particles increases, gram molecular weight increases. So we get 120. When we done the experiment, we get the molecular weight as 120. The similar thing also happens when molecular dissociation takes place. Take the example of sodium chloride. What is the calculated molecular mass of sodium chloride? It is 58.5. When sodium chloride molecular weight is observed by using conjugated properties experiment, we get its molecular weight as 29.25. We get the molecular weight of sodium chloride as 29.25. That means it becomes half. Why this one is half? When we place the sodium chloride in aqueous solution, it undergoes ionization. It produces Na plus ions and Cl minus ions. We think we are placing only one molecule, one formula of NaCl, but actually it is giving two particles, Na plus and Cl minus. When number of particles increases, what happens to the gram molecular weight? It decreases, because it is inversely proportional to number of particles. So this thing is happening. So in broad sense we can say like this. When molecular weights are identified by using colligative properties experiment, we are getting abnormal molar masses. To avoid this thing, Van Hoff's proposes an correction factor known as Van Hoff's correction factor. This Van Hoff's correction factor is denoted by so what is this Van Hoff's correction factor? Van Hoff's correction factor equal to number of particles after dissociation by number of particles before dissociation. Or association. is equal to experimental colligative properties by calculated colligative properties. Another term, this one can also be represented like this. I is equal to calculated granular mass by observed granular mass. Observed means experiment. Observed means experiment. Theoretical means calculated. Theoretical granular weight by observed granular mass. So when we learn these things, depending on the formula, depending on the problem, we have to use any one of these three things to get the correction factor. After getting this correction factor, when we substituted this I factor into colligative properties formulas, we will get the correct answer. So suppose take the formula of osmotic pressure. Osmotic pressure is equal to Cr. If molecular association or dissociation is taking place in the solution, in such cases you have to introduce I factor also. If molecular association or dissociation is taking place in the solution, you have to introduce I factor also to get the real gram molar mass. So suppose you take delta T. Delta T also is a colligative property. Delta T is equal to what we know Kf into Kb into molar. If molecular association or dissociation taking place, we will get abnormal molar mass. To avoid that thing, what we have to introduce? Ad hoc factor is introducing this formula. Delta Tb is equal to I into Kb into M. Suppose you taking now come to the depression increasing point. What is the formula of depression increasing point? We know that this is Kf into M. If molecular association or dissociation taking place, you have to introduce the factor also. Like that, by the introduction of I factor into colligative properties formulas, we get the correct granular weights. So this is about I factor. Endosmosis and exosmosis. What is this endosmosis and what is the exosmosis? Endosmosis means inward flow of solvent through semi-permeable membrane. Endosmosis means inward flow of solvent through semi-permeable membrane into the cell. For example, suppose a living cell is placed in, this is a living cell. So this living cell is placed in hypertonic solution. This living cell is placed in hypotonic solution. So what is meant by osmosis? Osmosis is a process in which solvent molecules enters into solution. That means solvent molecules enter from less concentrated solution to more concentrated solution. So which is the less concentrated solution? Hypotonic solution is the less concentrated solution. So water molecules enters from this one to into the cell. When water solvent molecules enters into the cell, what happens to the size of the cell? The size of the cell increases, and finally the cell going to burst. Cell bulges and it bursts. Exosmosis. Exosmosis means outward flow of water, outward flow of solvent from the living cell. So outward flow of solvent from the living cell is known as the exosmosis. So how can we discuss about this thing? When living cell is placed in hypertonic solution, when living cell is placed in hypertonic solution, the content in the cell moves outwards. The solvent molecules present in the cell moves outwards, and cell eventually going to shrink. The content in the cell moves outwards. The solvent molecules moves outwards. So when solvent molecules moves outwards, what happens to the cell? It's going to shrink. So this is about exosmosis. Endosmosis means inward flow of solvent molecules into living cell is known as the endosmosis. Exosmosis means outward flow of solvent molecules from living cell means exosmosis. When endosmosis takes place, cell bulges and it going to burst. When exosmosis takes place, cell going to shrink. So when mango pieces are placed in sodium chloride solution, when mango pieces are placed in sodium chloride solution, we can see this exosmosis process. We can see the exosmosis process. So the mango piece is going to shrink. That means pickles. In pickles manufacturing, the process involved is exosmosis. Endosmosis. For this example, when egg is placed in water, when egg is placed in water, the water molecule slowly enters into the egg, so that the egg is going to burst after some time. So it does not mean you have to remove the outer shell of the egg by placing the egg in dilute acid. When this egg is placed in vinegar, slowly the outer shell going to dissolve in the vinegar. So you get the semi-permeable membrane is going to expose us out. When that egg is placed into water, then this endosmosis takes place. The size of the egg increases. That means it is going to burst. Finally, it is going to burst. So this is about exosmosis or endosmosis. The next topic is relation between Van Hoff factor and degree of ionization. Degree of ionization is denoted by relation between Van Hoff factor and degree of ionization. We will discuss about this thing in two different cases. The first case is when molecular dissociation takes place. So how this Van Hoff factor is related to degree of dissociation when molecular dissociation is taking place. Suppose you take a molecule, this is that molecule. This molecule is undergoing dissociation to give n particles of A, one particle of An giving n particles of A. Initial moles. So how many initial moles of A n is there? 1. Here 0. At the beginning of reaction, products are 0. Equilibrium moles. At equilibrium, alpha moles undergoes dissociation. The remaining moles are 1 minus alpha. Here you get total moles at equilibrium. One minus alpha plus n alpha. Total moles at equilibrium is 1 minus alpha plus n alpha. I am taking alpha as a common thing. So we will get this 1 plus alpha into n minus 1. So now I am substituting this thing into alpha. Sorry, I am substituting this one in Van Hoff's factor. I is equal to number of particles after dissociation, after ionization by number of particles before ionization. Number of particles after ionization by number of particles before ionization. So I is equal to after ionization, how many particles are there? 1 plus alpha into n minus 1 at equilibrium. How many particles are there? 1 plus alpha into n minus 1. So 1 plus alpha into n minus 1 by number of particles before ionization. Before ionization, how many particles are there? 1. I minus 1 is equal to alpha into n minus 1. Alpha is equal to I minus 1 by n minus 1. So this is the relationship between alpha and I when molecular dissociation taking place. When molecular dissociation taking place, this is the relationship between alpha and I. So initial moles are taken as 1. At the beginning of reaction is 0. Equilibrium moles is 1 minus alpha because After some time t, when equilibrium is established, at equilibrium alpha moles undergoes the dissociation. The remaining number of moles are n minus alpha, and the formed moles are, the product moles are n alpha. Total number of moles are 1 minus alpha plus n alpha. By taking alpha as a common, 1 plus alpha into n minus 1. Now we have to substitute this one into Van Hoff's equation, Van Hoff's factor. I is equal to number of particles after ionization by number of particles before ionization. So I is equal to 1 plus alpha into n minus 1 by 1. So when I minus 1 is equal to alpha into n minus 1, alpha is equal to I minus 1 by n minus 1. So this is the relationship between ion and molecular dissociation. Now we are going to discussing about the second factor, the molecular association is taking place. Look at the molecular association and molecular association. Suppose I am considering an equation. In that equation, n moles of A is there, n particles of A is there, which undergoes dimerization or polymerization, and it is giving 1 mole of A. When it undergoes the association, and then it is giving n moles. Initial moles are taken as 1. Products are at the initial stages of the reaction. Products are J. At equilibrium, number of moles are 1 minus alpha. Here, how many moles of product will be formed? Alpha by n. Total moles. One minus alpha plus alpha by n. Total number of moles are 1 minus alpha plus alpha by n. So 1 plus alpha into 1 by n minus. Now I will substitute this one into Van Hoff. I is equal to number of particles after association by number of particles before association. So number of particles after association, how many particles are there after association? This many number, 1 plus alpha into 1 by n minus 1. Before association, how many particles are there? Only 1 particle. I minus 1 is equal to alpha into 1 by n minus 1. Alpha is equal to I minus 1 by n minus 1. So this is the relationship between alpha and I when molecular association taking place. Look at this one. Once again, when molecular association is taking place, I am considering an equation, and that equation n molecules molecules of A going to association to give one molecule of N. Sorry, one molecule of A. At the initial stages of the reaction, number of moles of A is manufacturing it as 1. Product number of moles are 0. Equilibrium moles are at equilibrium when equilibrium is going to tiny. Alpha moles are undergoing dissociation. How many number of moles remains? 1 minus alpha will be remain. How many moles of A will be formed? Alpha by N is formed. Total number of moles are 1 minus alpha plus alpha by N. So 1 plus alpha taken as common, 1 by N minus 1. I is equal to, what is the formula of I matter factor? Number of particles after association by number of particles before association. So I is equal to 1 plus alpha into 1 by N minus 1. Number of particles before association only 1. Number of particles before association only 1. So I minus 1 is equal to alpha into 1 by N minus 1. So alpha is equal to I minus 1 by 1 by N minus 1. So this is about the relationship between I factor and